Okay, guys. We're going to go ahead and get started here with this call. It is the end of the month. It's July 28th already. It's hard to believe that, the months are June 28th. I was already forwarding through an extra month. People are like, hold on, wait. It's hard to believe we're already through another month. And we're about to enter July. We're about to enter the 6-month mark. And it's the last 6 months of the year. The funny thing is, that's how fast time goes, and people, kind of fail to realize and fail to set goals, and time just slips away. And I don't ever know if you feel the way I have, where it's sometimes you just kind of look up, or you wake up, or you snap your finger, and you're like, oh my gosh, where did the year go? It seems like every year we start out, and it's Christmas time, the holidays, and then all of a sudden it's a brand new year, and we set New Year's resolutions. And we're like, okay, this year's going to be different. We're going to do something, we're going to make an impact. We're going to make things happen. We're going to accomplish some of our goals. And then it seems like, automatically it's the end of it automatically it's the end of January, and all of a sudden, February's here and it's Valentine's Day. And Valentine's Day, it's great. And Valentine's Day kind of sneaks up on you, and you're like, it's here again. Have a great day. And then all of a sudden, it's out, just that fast. And then all of a sudden it's Easter. And you're like, wow, I can't believe it, it's Easter already. And school lets out right after that, and you're like, I can't believe another school year's done. And then boom, all of a sudden it's the 4th of July. And the 4th of July, I've always kind of looked at, okay, we're at the midway point. And what I want to kind of go over tonight is, there's this idea that you can speed things up in network marketing. There's this idea that you can skip the work somehow. And I just sat and listened to another audio, the top producer formula actually, and what Dave was actually going over was the system to put people in the business. And what he said is number one, you have to contact people, which is absolutely true. I've learned no matter what business you're in, you're eventually going to have to contact people. Number two, you're going to have to invite. You're going to have to invite them to a presentation, you're going to have to invite them to a sit down, but you're basically going to have to set an appointment. And I've spent a lot of time setting appointments. And number three that he talked about is you're going to have to do a presentation, which is true. Number four, you're going to have to follow up with those people, either through a call or through an email or through a text. And the idea behind the follow-up is to bring them to another event. And then 6, you're finally going to close or ask for the close or get them started. And here's what I hear a lot. Well, I just want to know how to find the right people. That's what I hear a lot. Well, everybody that I've talked to, they're not the right ones. I try to get them in. They're not interested. It's hard to get an appointment with them. And here's what I found. A lot of times it's not necessarily so much that it's finding the right people. It's learning the right way to contact them. Because there's ways to contact and ways not to. Now, if you look at what we teach online is the contact is actually an ad. It's an ad that we put out there. Whether it's an ad that is a video kind of describing something or teaching something, or whether it's just a sign ad, if it's an external marketing thing, or whether it's a text message you sent somebody. No matter what, it's an ad, and an ad is basically, communicating the idea of come look at what I'm doing, or are you interested in this? Then you get to the setting the appointment. Now, the invite to the setting of the appointment is really the landing page, okay? If you look at online marketing, it's really the landing page. The landing page is really getting their information and saying, hey, are you kind of interested, are you really interested? To learn anything else, what you're going to have to do is enter your information. And most of the time, the landing page, first of all, takes two things. It takes the technical ability to set it up, and it also takes what? It takes the experience to know what to say on it. It's one thing to be technical and know how to set it up, and that's where people are like, well, if I just knew how to set up a landing page, and I'm like, that's great if you know how to set up a landing page, but knowing what to put on it is actually more important. Then you get to the point of the presentation. Now, if you're not sending somebody to a clear presentation and it's just a real roundabout, long, interesting, sometimes story-based training of some kind, and then at the end some guy says, hey, you just need to buy and get in with me, that's great. There's a certain amount of people who will buy and get in. But basically what you did is you attracted a certain personality type to your business. They're the personality type that doesn't need to see it, they don't need to research it, they're not really going to need to do any numbers, they're just going to get hyped, excited, and they're going to buy in. The problem with getting that group of people in your business is what? You're going to have a lot of people who will not stay in your business because they've got shiny object syndrome and they're going to run off to the next thing. Really what you're looking for is to develop a team that actually has all four of the dominant personalities. You're going to look for the D or the dominant personalities. You want the I or the, the interesting, exciting people. You want the C types that are the calculating, cautious types. And you want the S types that are, kind of the sweet, supportive. And if you don't have all four types of people in your business is likely to crumble. Why? Because as soon as somebody comes in that's a little bit better at doing anything you did to bring them in, they're gone. They're gone. They're out of the business. And the main point of the whole advertising landing page presentation, and then you get to the follow-up. And the follow-up is really, how do you move people from, I saw the presentation and I'm scared, I'm skeptical, I'm kind of just, I don't want to be a sucker, and get into something else. I don't want to be sold, but I'm kind of interested, bringing me through that process, and then eventually you get people to the event. Now here's the interesting thing that Dave Wood actually talked about. He said if you can contact somebody, and then you can set up an appointment, and then you can go over, whether it's Starbucks or whether through a webinar or whatever, you can present the idea to them, and then you can follow up with them and actually bring them to an event, and get them to the event, and they sit through the entire event, whether it's a home meeting, or a large conference meeting, or it's a weekend seminar or whatever, or it's a webinar. The percentage of people that will actually get started is of over 80%. It goes 80 to 90% of people. Let's just use 80. 80% of people will get started. Now here's the problem. The problem is you're going to have to contact 10 to 50 people usually to get somebody where they'll sit down and they'll go through this process. So the real question is A, first of all, how do you get more people in the system? And here's what everybody keeps asking me when I was out showing this. And when I've been in network marketing, in other companies and stuff, everybody asks first, I want to find the right people. How do I find the right people? And that's really a contacting question. Then it's like, well, okay, I got somebody in, I just need to find the right people who are going to do it. And, it's one thing to know the right people who are going to do it, it's another thing to know the right thing to do to get them going. Because if you just got somebody in by basically harassing the shit out of them for 6 months, and then finally they signed up so you leave them alone, it's unlikely that they're going to get started with you because they're like, I would never want to put another human being through this process. So what we're really talking about is the quality of the process. And what I want to tell everybody on the phone tonight is you can't skip the work. You can't skip the work. I listened to Dave Wood talk about this process he went through from 2002 to 2009, which was the equivalent of 7 years. He spent 7 years in the industry actually learning the process and doing the process of contacting, inviting, presenting, following up, getting people to an event, and closing them. And it took him a while to kind of become a professional at learning that process. It's really the same process that I use for real estate. We put out an ad, we drive people to a phone number, which was, instead of a landing page, this right here was just a phone number, and the phone number was really a voicemail, and they would just leave a number, and then we call back and actually set a presentation up to basically sit down, we'd meet them, we'd present to them, then we might have to follow up once or twice because they'd have something on their credit or whatever, and then we'd get them, back in front of a salesperson in front of a new home. And if we got people through to this point and they found out, here's the thing, 80% of people who were looking to rent, if we could get them through this process to here, and they found out they could buy, meaning they would actually qualify to buy, 80% would buy. It's really the same ratio. 80% would buy. I mean, it was kind of amazing. I was like, man, we're running off of an 80% close ratio if you can get people through the process. But here's the main issue, it's the quality of the process. Can you skip learning contacting? And here was kind of my point when somebody was asking me, well, just teach me how to put out the ad. I said, let's just run a scenario. Let's say that I teach you how to put out the most amazing ad in the world, and it only costs $50 to put out this amazing ad, and you get 1,000 calls. 1,000 calls. What the hell are you going to say to these people? They're like, I don't know. I think I'd have to send them to a landing page. I said, okay, well, next you're going to have to, learn how to do the landing page, but let's say you learn how to do the landing page. What are you going to put on the landing page that's so exciting, that's so good, that is, the words are just right to get them through? I mean, I might be able to get you this ad, and I might be able to get you this landing page. I might be able to do that for you. You know, I would probably charge you to do that, but you know, let's say I could get you to that point, and you know, because landing page, that software costs money. Let's say I can get you to that point. Well, then there's the presentation. Well, why don't you just present for me too on my video? Okay, I'll present to you on the video. Let's say I get the ad, I get the landing, I get the presentation. You know, what about the follow-up? Who's going to follow up with them? Well, you know, Jeff, you could write the emails. You're correct. I could write the emails. So I write the emails, and you know, we've got that process down, and you know, people get through. But in the end, here's what's going to happen. They're going to get to a point where they're like, okay, I'm pretty much sold, but I just need to talk to somebody just to make sure that this is the right person. And you're like, well, let's say I could narrow this number from 1,000 down to 50 to 60 people who really just want to talk on the phone and really want to know something specific because they've been in networking before, they've been in a different company before, they've been in this, they've been in that. And these 50 or 60 people, what they really want to know is, can I trust this system? Can I trust getting in one more time? Why this? Why now? The same questions that I sat down and asked Lawrence Tan. Here's the problem. If you haven't spent the time actually physically contacting people, if you haven't spent the time actually inviting and setting up an appointment, if you haven't spent the time presenting, if you haven't spent the time following up, if you haven't spent the time at, you know, basically going to 100 events and getting the event situation right and participating, and if you haven't seen that process done and a professional who's good at it close people, then here's what I know. These 50 or 60 people that you actually get down to the end are going to hear it in your voice that you don't know what you're doing, and they're not going to get in with you. They won't get in with you. Why won't they get in with you? Especially somebody who's experienced is looking for somebody who knows what the hell they're doing and wants direction. That's what most people want. They want some direction. They said, well, I'll get in, but the last time I got in, somebody sponsored me and then just kind of left me there. There were no phone calls, there was no training, there was no, and Josh Rose is probably shaking his head because he had some people like this on his team. I know that, you know, Chloe and Larry, I know we sat down with a couple people and sponsored them, and they actually said this to us. They said, well, we were in before, and we've gotten in a couple other things, but, you know, we just want to make sure somebody's going to give us exact directions. And here's what I can say. You cannot skip the process. You can't skip. There's no training out there that I can give you. There's no software you can buy. There's no landing page that will bypass you actually learning how to do this. So what are you going to have to do? Eventually, you're going to have to get to the point, if you want to be in network marketing and you actually want this to work, whether it's Empower or a juice company or, you know, the coffee company that's out there, or if you want to get into selling, you know, adult novelty toys, if you want to get into selling bags, you know, if you want to makeup or you want to be in a skincare company, you will have to learn how to do this. Now, here's another problem with not teaching people the process. Let's say I create the whole system for you. I create the ad for you. I create the landing page for you. I do the sales, you know, I do that part. I actually write all the follow-up, and I call all your people for you, and I close everybody in. Well, the first problem with this is, why the hell do I need you? I could just roll and, you know, grab 1,000 or 2,000 people into the process, make my millions of dollars, and go sit on the beach. But here's the problem. Now I have 1,000 to 2,000 people that want to do exactly what I just did, and they want to bring in all the people. But here's the problem. They don't know how to do the ad, they don't know how to do the landing page, they don't know how to do the sales, they don't know how to do the follow-up. The reason we're going to put people through the process, I mean, and it is kind of a crappy, the contact, C-O-N, contact. Sorry, I'm trying to spell. The invite process. We need to teach you how to be a good inviter, and then we're going to teach you how to present, or STP, show the program, share the plan. Not sell the person, that's not what it stands for, because some people are like, is that what it means, sell the person? No. The follow-up, and then eventually the close, is there's a certain amount of respect you're going to get from actually learning that process, going through it and teaching it. There's a certain amount of respect, and it's kind of like it's war dust. I don't know what it's called. It's sort of like, here's the best way I can describe it and I think everybody will get this. It's sort of like when a military person meets another military person. Every single military person had to go through the boot camp. They had to go through, week 0, which was Hell Week. For those of you who don't know anything about it, it's kind of good to go research it. But that first week, and everybody has to go through that process. And basically what they do during that process, and this is just a real generic overview. I wasn't in the military. I have a lot of friends who were in the military. But basically what they do is they break you down to build you back up. They basically take everything away from you and say, look, we're controlling when you get up, when you eat, when you go to the restroom, what you're doing all day, and we're going to make you into exactly what we want you to be. And it's tough. Not everybody makes it through it, but the funny thing is everybody that does make it through it is successful on the other side. And they can really take about anybody, as long as you can physically do it. They can really take about anybody from any background, whether rich or poor. It doesn't matter your race, doesn't matter your religion, it doesn't matter any of that, and they can put every person through it, and on the other side, they spit out kind of that machine that they want. Now, this process is sort of, in a way, the same, because it's not necessarily, it's not always fun. It's sometimes hard, it sometimes takes sweat, it sometimes takes effort, it a lot of times takes doing it when you don't want to do it. But here's the reason why. Is because it's the only way to actually train your replacement. That's why. It's the only way to train your replacement. See, when I was in another company where all they talked about was, well, contact, invite, and show the plan, and then follow-up, all of this can be done by a CD or a DVD. All of it can be done by a DVD. All you do is hand out the DVD, bring them to the meeting, hand out the DVD, bring them to the meeting, hand out the DVD, bring them to the meeting. And then, unfortunately, I did hear about a group of people who did this, and then they got to the event, and they had 40 people in the room, 20 of them, half of the people were new, meaning they weren't in yet. They weren't in yet, and the speaker wasn't able to come out that night because of sickness or the car, I can't remember the reason. And here's the funny thing that happened that night. Not one fucking person in the room knew how to do the presentation. You created a weak organization. And literally it was a weak organization. It was an organization that showed up once a week that was weak. They were weak. They weren't strong. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to do it. And what happened to the team? That night, basically 20 guests were like, well, what are you going to show us? And they said, well, the meeting's actually been canceled. The speaker's not here, and nobody knows how to do the presentation. So basically what they said is they came up front and they said, look, everybody in this room is so dumb, and this process sucks so bad that we don't actually have anybody qualified who can stand up and actually share this information. Now, let me give you the flip side of that. There's a lady that's actually in Empower Network. Her name's Tracy Walker. And Tracy was actually a real estate agent. And she was a real estate investor. She had been in Atlanta. She had made a bunch of money in selling homes. And unfortunately, the home market fell apart. Completely fell apart. And interestingly enough, one of her friends that was actually in that industry with real estate actually came to her and said, look, I've got an opportunity for you to do, and you would be great at it. You're an MBA, you've spoken in front of people, you're a realtor, you're an investor, you've made a bunch of money, you've got the look, you've got everything. We have a PowerPoint, and basically I want you to see it. So they showed it to her and sponsored her into the business, and then actually invited her to the event that next week. But funny enough, they're like, well, we really don't have a speaker for this area, so we were wondering if you could just do the meeting. We were just wondering if you could do the meeting. Now, interestingly enough, she did do the meeting. And her first year out of the gate, because she had to do the meeting and run the meeting and basically learn how to contact, learn how to invite, learn how to show the plan, learn how to follow up, learn how to get people to the event, learn how to close, she made 6 figures her first year. Her first year. Why? Because she actually got engaged in doing the activity right off the bat to do everything. So, is the online business, what it does is it keeps feeding you. So the reason you're going to blog, and the reason you're going to figure out how to put out ads, and the reason you're going to, maybe send people to a landing page or a link, the reason you're going to learn how to do all this and learn the functionality of it is eventually, how do you, there's attrition in this business. Let's say you go out and you show 90 to 100, I'm just going to use a number 100. Let's say you go out and show 100 people, and you go through the pain, sweat, and effort, the contact, invite, show the plan, follow up, and let's say we're not going to contact 100, but we're physically going to show 100 people the program. Here's what I know. A, to show 100 people the program, you're eventually going to have to get a contact that's good. That works. You're going to have to learn how to contact somebody and actually pique their interest and get, really what you're doing is you're getting their attention. And this is a little bit harder to do today because everybody has Facebook and Pinterest and Instagram and people are on their phone, and it's a little bit harder to get people's interest nowadays. And I mean, honestly, you're good if you can get people's attention. But you're going to have to get good at that. The second thing you're going to have to get good at is you're going to have to get good at this invite process, or what I would call setting an appointment. Whether it's setting an appointment to actually physically face-to-face sit down, or it's a, phone conversation, hey, when are you free to talk on the phone, or it's a webinar, or however you decide to do it. Any one of these, Skype, whatever, you're going to have to get really good at these two things, And basically these two things are this, the first one, contacting, is really what a telemarketer does. And the second one, the invite, is nothing more than what? It's an appointment setter. Both of these things you can replace. You can replace both of these things with somebody else, but the problem is if you do it in the beginning, you don't know if that person's good or not. It's kind of like when I actually first started in the housing business, I had worked construction before. And because I had the experience of working construction with my stepdad, I actually had to go in and do some framing work. I actually had to, frame some houses. We had to frame some bathtubs in. We had to frame some windows. And I had done many things inside of a house, other than the electrical and the plumbing. And because I had done those things when, years later, 7, 8 years later, when I actually had purchased my own houses and I was having to figure some of that out, I was able to do it if I needed to do it, but the other thing is I was actually able to hire it, and I knew whether the person who was doing it knew what they were doing. So I knew if I was getting a good deal. I also knew charge-wise the time it took, and based on where to get the materials, I knew if they were, telling me the truth. But if you don't know how to do either one of these things, you're never going to know how to do them. So you're never going to really know if you're good at hiring them. And that's what I really like, and it's kind of a respect you can get from every single person on your team, is you want somebody that went through this, and you want to go through it, so your people will not only know it, but also respect it. But here's the thing, if you do it the way that we're setting it up, it's the fastest way to replace yourself. It's the fastest way to replace yourself. Other than buying the team. I mean, because you could go in, if you had enough money right now, you could just buy a team. It'd be real simple. You just find a person who's in network marketing who has 500 to 1,000 people on their team, who's making $500 to $1,000 a month, because you make about $1 to $3 residual off of most of these programs, and you just say, hey, look, I'll pay you. I'll pay you to come over and bring your organization over to this, this company, and here's the deal. Get in, sign up your first, your best people. You want to sign up 20 to 25 of them straight across, and then we'll just fill in the gaps after that. And here's the thing. That would only work temporarily until the next person buys them. But if you went through this, and you teach other people to go through this, and you both have that kind of respect, that's that military thing when two military people meet each other because they've both been through that. it's just an instant level of knowing. And the same thing is true when a police officer or police officers kind of have a certain amount of respect for, fire department and military. They kind of we all work for the same program. We all had to go through some BS, and we kind of all report up to the same person. So, we're going to give some leniency, and we're going to give some credibility, and we're going to give some respect. That's just the way it is. The same thing is true with people who actually have done network marketing when somebody comes in. And interestingly enough, I've been in martial arts for a while, and here's how martial arts work. In our school, I trained underneath this one particular style for quite some time. And about, it seemed like a year or two in, all of a sudden this new person joined our school. And it just so happened that they were a 3rd degree black belt in a different style. And my teacher actually came in and explained to everybody, he's like, look, here's how it works. Everything's in order based on the newest person. So the newest person actually comes onto the mat first. Everybody new gets on in order, and everybody warms up and trains. And then basically what we do is we ask, or as the teachers come on, they come on in basically in the same order from lowest to highest rank, and then they kind of start run the class. But anybody who was a teacher, basically a brown belt or higher, which means it's brown, black, and then you're teaching the class. So they would ask those people to get on last, and this new guy who was brand new got to basically stand up front. And the teacher said, look, although this person is just starting in our organization, there's a certain level of respect we have because they've made it to the top of their organization. So because they have that training, because they have that background, because they have that leadership, we automatically grant them respect and the permission to be up front and run everything with the teachers. Although they're learning it for the first time, we know that they have some of the basics already down. Imagine having that same respect with everybody that gets in your team and say, look, you might have, and that's why it's great to sponsor certain kinds of people, like, there are certain kind of people, insurance, real estate, some professional salespeople who have already learned how to contact, they've already learned how to invite, they've already learned how to, do a presentation. And that's the reason Tracy Walker was able to come in and make 6 figures. Was it because she was in Atlanta? No. Was it because necessarily that she had done a bunch of real estate deals? Well, sort of, but it was really because she had learned how to contact, she had learned how to invite, she had learned how to show the plan. So this comes back to this, presenting to 100 people. If you present to 100 people, A, you learned how to contact, B, you learned how to invite, C, you actually got the presentation in front of 100 people. So watch this. Let's say your presentation when you first start isn't that good. It's not that compelling. It's not smooth. It's not memorized. And it's just like music, and it's just like any other art form. Okay? Presenting and doing network marketing, the easiest way to say it is it's actually an art, but you have to learn to get it to be art. You have to learn the skill of it first. Just like any other thing that's out there. There are very, 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 very few people who can pick up a guitar from day one and create music. There are very, very, very few people who can start on a piano and just play music right away, or the drums, or anything. What happens is they have to learn how to play notes. Then after they learn how to play notes, they learn how to play scales. After they learn how to play notes and scales, they learn how to play chords. After they learn that, then we can put some of that together, and all of a sudden, they're actually able to make something that sounds like music. It doesn't happen right away. The same thing is true with this process. In the beginning, you might only be good at contacting. This is why when we start people, we ask them for 10 people, and we ask them just to contact. Just contact the person and set up a time for us to go talk to them. I'll do the presentation, because if I've done 100 presentations, here's what you'll know. A, I have it memorized. I know the start, the beginning, and the end. I know what's coming, and I know the transition. It seems smooth. It seems like a conversation, not a presentation. I'm able to gauge where the person's at. I'm able to look at them. I'm able to see their body language. I'm able to see what's going on. I'm able to see if they're leaning in or leaning back. I'm able to see if they're checking their watch or their phone, or they're fidgeting, or they're relaxing. If they're engaged, if they're shaking their head, if they're agreeing with me. If I've done 100 presentations, I'm pretty confident in what I'm doing, and at that point, people see, hey, he knows what he's doing. It seems pretty smooth. This seems to be working. So if he knows what he's doing, it's smooth and it's working, then this is something that would be pretty good to get into. Because these people know what they're doing. Unlike the group of people who were running that meeting, that the speaker didn't show up and they canceled the meeting and sent everybody home. And that's actually a true story. That's like not meant for entertainment purposes for this call just to sound good. That actually happened. I'm not going to give out the name of the company because they got bought out by another company called Legal Shield. But it actually did happen. It's so ridiculous. But if you know how to present, then what I know is you've gotten good at the content, you've gotten good at the invite, you've gotten good at the presentation. So the follow-up process would be easy to teach somebody if they've learned that, because the follow-up process is nothing more than saying, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10. Now, I've changed this process. I went from, most people look at this process as hard sales, and most people teach it as hard sales. Most people will teach this as your contact has to be all about money and opportunity, which is sort of right. Your invite has to be, 24 to 48 hours. If you're not meeting them within 24 to 48 hours, it's not going to work, which is not true. But if it's hard sales, that's the way you want it, because you're trying to close. The presentation is all about trying to close people. The follow-up is nothing more than trying to close people again over the phone. And then if they get to the event, you're just trying to close. I changed this process. And because I changed it, not only do people like it, not only do people that feel comfortable, but it went from hard sales to basically joining. I don't hard sell anything. I make people join. They have to tell me they want to join. Because what I say is on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you want more info, and 10 you're ready to go, and you'd want to do this, where are you? Which means I put it on them. They have to tell me they're getting started. And I actually did this. I followed up with somebody like 3 or 4 times, and I said scale of 1 to 10, scale of 1 to 10. And they were like a 7, they were like a 7, and then they're like, okay, I'm like an 8, I'm like a 9. And then finally I'm a 9.5. And the person said, are you ever going to ask me to do this? I said, no, because I don't need you. And he said, okay, I'm in. Now here's why. There's a psychology and an art to recruiting. Imagine if a church you went to was hard sales. Wouldn't that be weird? Wouldn't that be weird? Be like, hey Will, there's this new place on the other side of town, man. I joined this place, last week or 2 weeks ago, and man, you got to come out and see it this coming week. You got to come out and see it this coming week, because there's only a few seats left, and it's going really quick, and there's not that many seats inside the place, and it's just unbelievable what they're doing, and you need to come out. And basically, I hard sell them on setting the time, and I say, look, we can just ride together. I'll take you over there, and we ride over, and the minute he walks in the door, the people are like, hi Will, or hi Jeff, how are you? Oh, I'm great. Oh, is this Will? Yeah, this is Will. This is the guy I told you about. And they're like, man, you've got to join this place. Wouldn't that be weird? But here's the funny thing. I watch people do this all the time in network marketing, and it's almost like they think what they're doing is okay. It's not okay. It seems weird. It seems too pressure. But what most people is they're focusing their attention so much on getting somebody in rather than learning the process. And if you want to make a lot of money, what you do is completely don't worry about closing. Get that out of your head. In fact, the less you worry about closing, the more you'll close. It's so stupid. The more you worry about, is my contact good? Is it duplicatable? Is it easy? Is it simple? Be like, hey Will, man, this next week or in a couple weeks, I don't know what you're doing on Sundays. I know you usually do your thing, but I'd love for you to come out and check out what we're doing. Joined another place. I think it's really cool. I really want you to see, where I'm at. Oh, okay. Well, is this weekend or next weekend or the following weekend good? And what I did is, although I'm asking the same question, it doesn't seem like it's hard sales. It doesn't seem pressure. It seems a very open invitation. And here's the thing, I want you to see it so that way you know where I'm going, because you always ask me to come to your place, and I went, and maybe it wasn't, perfect side of town or whatever, but I think this place is kind of similar, so I just want, I want you to know where I'm at on that side of town. And we set up the invite, and basically my invitation is I give him 2 to 3 choices, and all of a sudden he's telling me which time's best for him. So he doesn't seem pressured or weird. And the same thing was true when we worked on real estate. It took a while, but we got this process down that it was professional. It was simple and it was professional. And we could teach it to anybody. The contact from the ad to setting the appointment. Hey, we have these 2 times this next week, these 2 days. What's more convenient during the week or the weekend? And they were like, the weekend. Okay, which day's better, Saturday or Sunday? Saturday's better. Okay, which time's better? We have a group, we're meeting some people at 1 and we're meeting some people at 5. Which time's better for you? 5. Great. So we're going to see you Saturday at 5. Is it okay if I follow up and just, send you a note in the morning? Why? Because most people forget everything. Most people keep their calendar and, set their time where? They set it on a napkin. They set it on, the back of a McDonald's bag. They say they put it in their phone. They try to text themselves and they forget. I even forget. It's in my phone and the alarm goes off and I'll still forget. So just that reminder, that's a tip for those of us who are really going to do this and become a professional at it and actually make money doing it. But we then invited, and then we showed up to the presentation. The presentation was the same every time. We got this one presentation down. Basically, it was the same presentation that I do. I kind of share my story, my background. Here's kind of who I am, what I was looking for, why I'm involved, why I'm doing this, and then I would kind of show the program. And here's what we found, is the people who were qualified, the people who were, kind of like us, who were, looking for a home, and they found out they would qualify for a home, and they found out it was in the area that they wanted a home, and it was the number of bedrooms that they liked, and it was the number of baths that they liked. Then it was like 80% of the time they were like, they'd ask this question, well, how much is this?